this one tonight felt like that it wasn't the same as the game last night. You didn't commit the turnovers, but it felt like the inside game maybe hurt more. How did New Mexico's inside game impact this one tonight?
Yeah, they got number 10, Lujan, really going. It's a matchup issue for us. He just controlled the backboards, and they're late. We just basically said, hey, if he gets it, no matter who you're guarding, you're going to have to go down there and double it. And to me, he hit the biggest shot of the game when he hit that three in transition, and that really changed the game.
You were talking about last night's game, Coach, the pace of the game. Was the pace of the game tonight a little more like you liked the pace?
Yeah, it was fine. I thought maybe we'd play a little more zone tonight, and we did a couple times and with mixed results. So we just kept trying to figure out how to guard their side ball screens, and they're pretty simple that way. They run the same thing, a different variation of it over and over, and we changed up coverages a couple different times and just couldn't quite find it. I mean, that was what we were talking about in the huddles is we're scoring enough. We just got to string together enough stops. We just got to string together enough stops. And then if you'd have told me before the game we'd have lost the rebounding battle the way that we did, I said you're crazy. But it's been a couple games now where we haven't been enough on the backboards.
You had some different guys playing tonight. Amir Ali, Brandon Walker probably got more playing time than they've had all year. What'd you think about them? Again,
mixed results. Amir, can make a shot. He couldn't tonight, but that's kind of what he did. But, I was happy and proud for him, especially in the first half. We had 20 rebounds, and he had 7 of them. And that's something that, you wouldn't have expected before tonight's game, and that was some progress for him individually. And I thought Brandon obviously scored the ball, and that's kind of what he does. He can score the basketball. Sometimes he struggles against, the bigger teams that have the great size around the rim. But tonight, he had some good opportunities, and, was guarding pretty good. He was guarding a shooter, and, that's the reason why he played a lot more minutes.
You're talking about we scored 80 points. That's a lot of points, obviously. You had 2 guys, between the 2 of them, get 50 of those 80. Brandon Walker was the only frontline guy. He was the leading scorer of your frontline guys. It appears to me, somehow, somewhere, you got to find some score from some of those other 3, 4s, and 5s. But how do you do that? Because you can't change players. Can you change your offense? Can you change what they're doing? Can you change it? What can you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I'm sure it'll be a long travel home and be a lot of film watching on the bus and in the planes and back on the bus and tomorrow. And as always, we're constantly trying to morph our schemes into to better benefit our individual players, and we're certainly going to have to try to do that. We've got to find more scoring. I thought obviously Epps is back to his self and was really good, and Josh scored a lot of points. I'd like him to be a little more efficient, but at the same time, they're carrying a lot of water right now, and so once in a while they're going to take an iffy shot, and it's something that you got to live with. But they're at the end of the game. I was ready to call timeout, but I felt like the possession unfolded like pretty good for us, and we had the ball in the right player's hands, and he had enough space where I'm not sure if we call timeout and run something that it doesn't work out that way. So I'm sure people will be talking about that, but again, our best player had a pretty good look at the basket.
Last question for me. We only had 7 turnovers. We've had some issues with turnovers. We turned it over 7 times tonight. We turned them over 10 times, which is not a lot. I have a question. We're not turning people over this year like we did last year. Is it because of the opponents we're playing? Have you changed? It seems to me like we're not forcing the ball to the baseline traps as much as we did last year. Have you changed that philosophy, or are we just not doing it as well this year?
We have. We overhauled our defense from a year ago based on the results and who we had when recruiting was over, and didn't feel like that was going to be as beneficial for us. And certainly guarding the three-point line last year was a major struggle. So we're hopeful that we can guard the three-point line better as the season continues to progress. So far, it's been pretty good. But we're not going to turn people over as much because it's not as an aggressive style of defense. And so it's, tick for tack. And, right now, certainly everybody can be critical of what we're doing. And trust me, I understand that. And it comes with the job. And we're going to continue to try to tweak it and get our guys to be better. And for all of us from the top down to do whatever we got to do to make sure that these results change.
When you've got a lot of new guys on your team like you do this year, and you've got some freshmen you're leaning on right now too, when you've had a couple of tough nights back-to-back, what do you say to those guys to encourage them to stay the course and not allow them to get too low when things haven't been going the team's way?
I told them we're in the middle of hard right now. For our basketball lives, we're right in the middle of it. And you got a choice to make individually, and then certainly as a team. You can listen to the noise. You can let it bother you. You can point fingers. It's not my fault. And with that, I talked about you have to have ownership of your performance or your productivity from an individual perspective, including me and anyone else on our staff that influences what we do, and the players, obviously, which results in a collective ownership. And all I told them was that I know what my response is going to be, and I'm going to work my tail off to try to do whatever I can to help fix the situation to get better results. And they have to do the same individually, or if they don't, then it'll be bad for us and it'll be bad for them. So we're right in the middle of it, man. Nobody expected these results. Nobody in our program expected these results, but it's reality and it's where we're at, and we got to figure it out.
Coach, thank you for the time.
Hail State.